we're going back 25 years. I was going to say, this is an interesting deep dive because we have Adam on, which is always great to have Adam on. But Adam is on because Todd and Adam are the only ones that had seen this movie before this week.
You guys haven't seen it, you losers.
Yeah, and so we've done deep dives where one of us hasn't seen it. Usually it's me. We've never done a deep dive where 2/3 of the group hasn't seen it. And Adam is like, whenever you deep dive this, I am there. And so here he is.
I mean, I had seen a lot of the scenes from the movie. I basically could tell you everything that happened in the movie without having seen it. I don't think I was quite virgin to the levels of these characters at the beginning of this movie, but I do think that I was like the kid from Rookie of the Year. I was at his level of not really being a virgin. I'd reached third base with this movie before actually committing to it.
That's not watching the movie, though. You got to sit down and watch the whole thing. This is these are the same thing about Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and that you would obviously have not seen that movie. Yeah, so this isn't a movie I necessarily grew up with. I don't think I saw it even in high school because I remember seeing American Wedding first, and that I did not really like. So it took a while for me to get to this. It was probably sometime in college that I saw this, and I've always been struck by just how interesting this movie is. I mean, yeah, it's got the ridiculous humor in the first like hour or so, but the last half hour is where it gets like really good. Like it's way more engaging and heartfelt than a movie like this has any right to be. And it's got a huge heart. The house party scene, I think, makes the whole thing worth it. It's just like it plays out every storyline completely perfectly. And what I also like about this movie is that the female characters are actually given a lot of screen time and have a lot of like fun lines and interesting problems and probably like better performances in some ways. Like it's not just like, oh, it's about these guys trying to get laid and that's it. I mean, it's not Porky's. It's actually got like fully fleshed out like female characters. In that way, I think it's the closest thing to Fast Times at Ridgemont High that we really have seen since. Where I mean, it really does have both sides of the equation, and you really do feel like you're in high school with these people, and all the characters are so classic. I mean, and I know that they kind of got worse and worse. American Reunion was actually pretty decent, but these characters have been played to death. But to start here and watching a 90-minute movie and really feel like you know these characters that deeply, it just speaks to how kind of like flawless the movie is at portraying that era of your life and like late high school, before prom, before graduation. Like it, I mean, I feel like I know these characters. I think it's really rewatchable. I've probably seen this movie somewhere between 5 and 10 times, and it never gets boring. And even like watching it edited on TV or something, it still has all of the same laughs. It isn't as outrageous. So I mean, I've always been struck by it. So I mean, it would be fun to talk about it because I mean, this has been in my head for like a long time. I've always wanted to deep dive this movie. So we'll see how this goes.
All right, Adam, you're the other one that had seen this before this week. So tell us what you think of American Pie.
All right, so this is another film that I've never grew up on either. In the same boat as Todd here. I grew up on my high school, kind of high school comedies was 10 Things I Hate About You. The Faculty was another one that I've watched a lot as well. And of course, we have to go back to Superbad. So when I graduated from high school, obviously, Superbad was like all the rage. It came out. And then shortly after that, I worked at a hardware store called McClendon's in Tacoma or Puyallup. But anyway, one of the guys said, I look like this character from American Pie called the Sherminator. You should watch it. And that's where I first was introduced to the Sherminator. I
can totally see how an 18-year-old Adam would look like the Sherminator.
Yeah, spiked appearance.
And that explains your banner.
Yes, that explains it.
Because your name is the Sherminator.
Yeah, that is true. So watching it, I immediately got hooked and invested in these characters. Obviously, it's like, oh, that's the guy from the Rookie of the Year. There's Jason Biggs. I've seen him in a bunch of. There's Sean William Scott there. Really enjoyed the cast of characters and just really got hooked on it because I feel like it does capture the kind of the feel of the films that I had grown up with some 10 Things I Hate About You vibes in there and some Superbad as well. It obviously doesn't go as raunchy as like a Superbad, but At the same time, there's really like good characters there. Another film I have to mention here, I would be doing a disservice I didn't, is Can't Hardly Wait, which came out the year before this. Is very similar, and actually just watched it. Todd watched it as well recently. I really think that actually is a 3-star film as well, even though I have it 2.5. I've watched it a couple times since this year, and still just as entertained by it. I think American Pie has better characters and is more memorable. But at the same time, American Pie, the franchise is really is awesome. I'm a big fan of American Pie 2. American Wedding is where it gets kind of like, it's not that great. But American Reunion, went to see that in the $2 theater and had a blast with that film as well. Absolutely loved it. However, I feel like the American Pie franchise as a whole has kind of that aftertaste of like National Lampoon, because National Lampoon has a lot of these spin-off films like American Pie does. They have a lot of direct to DVD movies like American Pie The Naked Mile and American Pie Band Camp. And I think there was this one that went to Netflix last year or 2 years ago, where the only connecting factor is Jim's father in the movies. And also the Sherminator shows up at band camp as well. And then also it takes place, like it follows Stifler's like cousin or something as well. So that's the only correlating factor, is these direct to DVD movies have name value of these other characters in these the theater franchise. So it doesn't have, I don't think it has this first film has a great like nostalgia factor, but I don't think if you think people don't think fondly of it, because of National Lampoon has a lot of bad direct-to-DVD movies as well as American Pie. So I think that could be a negative on them. But the main franchise with the characters is something that I've watched several times through, and I'm still just thoroughly entertained every time I watch it. Partially because of nostalgia, but at the same time, just really good movies.
All right. Yeah. For whatever reason, I missed American Pie. I hadn't watched it. I watched it for the first time last night, and I kind of hate the fact that I hadn't watched it before.
Good.
Because it's so funny. So this came out in 1999 is when I entered high school, and like you guys are saying, it's kind of like Superbad. I feel like everything that I've never really gotten from Superbad, I get here. And like it feels like, yeah, that makes sense that your generation is Superbad and my generation, just being a few years older, American Pie just has, I don't know what it is. It just feels, just being a product of the 90s, it feels a little more my speed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I loved it. I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
Yes,
it is rare. It's rare, and I want to see the sequels now, because it's rare that you get to the end of a movie and you go, I want so much more from these characters, right? I there needs to be more. I feel like everything is incomplete, and I know they didn't make American Pie saying we're going to make a sequel, but you get to the end of it and you go, wait, that's all I get? I want to see these characters more. I want to live with these characters more. And the fact that we got 3 more movies that we can live with them, even if they aren't great, but at least we can see what they're up to. And I think this is a perfect opportunity. This is a good movie to have sequels to, because you want to see the updates on where these characters are and what they're doing after this. But yeah, it's hilarious. There's so many relatable things going on here. And yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd love to be on board with you guys, I could not get there with this movie. I thought it was like painful and weird to watch, and it was like an interesting like time travel, like return to 1999, with the clothes, which I don't know if you noticed, Adam, today I'm dressed like Jim, but it was like weird with the music and the customs. It was like, I mean, how like 25 years before 1999 would have been like what, 1974. So I'm sure like that would have been quaint. Watching this movie in 2024, 1999 feels very quaint. And quaint not just because of, the music, the style, of course, the technology in the movie, the webcam,
the frosted tips.
Exactly. I mean, it feels, and that in itself is not why I dislike the movie. Oh yeah, there we go, Adam.
Or laid back Jim. You should do your hair. You should do your hair like laid back Jim.
That's true. This movie is more interesting to think about as some sort of time capsule or some sort of moment in the history of our lives rather than the movie itself. Why did this movie come out? Well, I think it's clear why it came out, because there hadn't really been a teen sex comedy in a decade. And I think the filmmakers were wise to kind of tap on that untapped potential. But what's more interesting about it is why this movie was so successful. Like, I don't know first of all, you couldn't really make this movie today, but even if you tried to make a sex comedy, there's just no way it could ever catch on. And I realize we're in a completely different environment, but even just the cultural cachet of this movie, which in many ways is even more impressive than the money it made. Like, people know what you're talking about when you reference The Pie and Jason Biggs. And I think they're familiar with the concept and the brand of the movie and the franchise, maybe even more than the movie itself. Why did it catch on? Well, what was going on in 1999? I mean, you could say, like, the Monica Lewinsky scandal was a part of it. I think you could say, like, the rise of Britney Spears was part of the success of this movie. Like, this movie was like Y2K paranoia and fears. Absolutely. The slow rise of internet porn, which had not quite reached, its zenith. I mean, we were still in the era. A little bit like in that Pam and Tommy series with Seth Rogen, like it was still very nascent, still very primitive. I think this movie, and then of course Blink-182. I mean, they were very primitive too. I think this movie is also like really, really bad for the teenagers who never really became anything in their careers. I mean, it's kind of entertaining to see like all the different projects that Jason Biggs has tried to do to resurrect his career and most of these stars, but it never worked. The two best parts of this movie very clearly are Eugene Levy and Jennifer Coolidge. Their scenes rock, especially Eugene Levy. And it made me think that his scenes are so good in this movie. And he is so, I think, just that is, of course, his brand as an actor. And we'll talk about highest war performances, but come on, let's get real. I mean, he specializes in roles like that. And it made me just want to see a movie that was just him and Jim the whole movie. It made me think, we're going to talk about awkward dad scenes a little bit, but it made me think of like the charm of I Love My Dad, which I know I liked more than Todd, but like that movie was totally about this awkward teenage, horny teenage son, somewhat aloof dad figure. And that was like really funny. And those scenes really worked in the movie. I thought they had a great dynamic. The rest of the movie did not work at all. I thought the performances were terrible in this movie. Chris Klein and Mina Suvari, if you're telling me that we're relying on their relationship, their acting chops, that's a real problem. The kid from Rookie of the Year, all I kept seeing was Rookie of the Year. It was a real distracting problem in this movie. I kept thinking, where's your baseball contract? They're playing lacrosse. You should be on the baseball field. The whole sequence with the taping of Nadia, I mean, it is like, wow, you would be, if this movie was made today, it would be like a thriller where someone gets arrested for doing that. You could never redo that today. And I guess in a way it's like, interesting to look at the sort of naivety and innocence of 1999, knowing how dirty this movie was perceived to be and knowing how just, across the line it is, how many lines are crossed with it today, but for reasons that the filmmakers probably couldn't have anticipated. Are they the problem? Are they the symptom? Are they the cause? I don't know, but I don't think this movie does a very good job of portraying like actual teenage conversations. Like Todd has this issue where he didn't like the Starling Girl because the main actress was too old. All of these actors are too old. I don't know how you can get past that in this movie. They all look like they're in their late 20s. Like Shannon Elizabeth, are you kidding me? She looks like she's at least 30 in this movie. All that to say,
I don't think any of them are really that old.
They're
all probably 20-ish. Like, I mean, it's Shannon Elizabeth, sure. Like, she's older. But, okay.
All that to say, I would curiously and cautiously watch the sequels. So maybe they grow. Maybe they evolve somehow. I would hope they would evolve somehow. I'm also curious by how much your guys' star ratings for American Pie 2 and American Wedding, which are not very high. But I would be willing to give it a second chance.
A good one.
I like American Pie 2, even though I think I gave it a negative. It's still good.
Eugene, this movie was the cause of the Jennifer Coolidge renaissance with both Best in Show and Legally Blonde, and of course Adam's movie Protocol New Orleans, which she's great in. So if this movie is responsible for anything, it is Jennifer Coolidge's career and success. So I guess I applaud it for that. But Not a whole lot else, but I'm finding it interesting that none of us saw it in high school. I did not see it in high school. I saw it on the Encore Movie Channel, which I probably had to unscramble a few times. But I did know most of this movie even prior to watching it. But that, I think, speaks to its, I guess, popularity.
Well, there's this iconic moment after iconic moment. Like the first half hour, it's like, wow, they hit like more moments in that first half hour than most movies that we deep dive do in the entire movie. It's like, and then it calms down. So I mean, I don't know. I think Chris Klein and Mina Suvari are great in this. Like they and this is the same year that Mina Suvari was in the Best Picture winner. Same year Chris Klein was in an Oscar nominated movie too. I mean, it's like that is the relationship that rings most true to me in the whole thing. But I guess if you don't want to like it, then you're not gonna then you'll find reasons not to. But whatever. I mean, I think he's way better in this than he is in Election.
Yeah.
Oh, but Election, he's so charming in that movie. This movie, it's such a stock character. Like, there's nothing interesting about it. I'm sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
He's way more dynamic. Like he's the jock, but he's a jock trying to masquerade as a sensitive guy,
as a choir singer. Yeah, never seen that before. No, like in Election,
yeah, like I never have. Like what are you talking about?
He just he's
you got nothing exactly. Okay, go for it.
Creating a charade out of his identity, and that's like, oh yeah, we've seen that a million times in other movies. Anyway, but go ahead.
It's convincing.
So like the movie that I said, like I mentioned 10 Things I Hate About You. That's the other like big 1999 high school movie that came out, and it dives into similar territory, but doesn't go to the full raunchiness. It's definitely not. What is American Pie rated? Like I should say, is it rated R? Okay. Is it?
Well, it depends on if you watch the unrated one.
Yeah, I watched
that's true.
Yeah. Unrated. Yep. There we go. Is it? Yeah, I got. Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Hold on. I guess
it adds all of like 30 seconds of time.
Yeah.
What was the scene that
I didn't know. Yeah. What did it add?
And no, it just added like a couple frames, like a bunch of different times.
Thrusting.
Yeah, it wasn't to anything crazy, but I think 10 Things I Hate About You is a good companion piece. I think that's also worthy of a deep dive, honestly, because obviously half of us live in Washington too, so there's very local movie too. But that is it's such an interesting movie where those actors from that high school movie got like started, like there was such big stars out of that movie that came out of that film compared to the American Pie movies. They're really good high school movies, but then at the same time as one has the multiple sequels where you have the interesting dynamics, but then you get the like just after prom with 10 Things I Hate About You as well. Was it
10 Things I Hate? 10 Things I Hate About You didn't make as much money though, right? Like it wasn't as successful.
No, but what's weird is that's the one that I saw in high school because I think the rating had something to do with it too. Because I think we rented that from a Safeway video when Safeway was doing movie rentals. We saw that and I was like, oh, well, that looks interesting. So we watched it. Great cast. Allison Janney shows up. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, Gabrielle Union. Really good cast.
Well, see, the cast of this movie, though, it's like I feel like nobody knew what to do with them after this because this movie is so iconic with how they built their characters that anything else was going to be looked at as a failure. Like Chris Klein had "Say It Isn't So" and "Rollerball." Like that. I mean, that was never going to work. I think he's an interesting actor, but it was never like they never knew how to use him. And then you had like Tara Reid, I think, was typecast from the moment she was first shown in any movie.
Like Lebowski.
And then you got Sean William Scott, of course, had like Bulletproof Monk. It's like he was never going to be an action star. Like, I mean, I don't know what they were going to do with him. It took until he did those Canadian hockey movies for him to really.
Allison Hannigan's basically playing the same character in How I Met Your Mother.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like the other guy that didn't get anything after this is probably the most interesting character in the movie, Paul Finch, which is Eddie K. Thomas. What has he been in? Like he's been in some stuff, but Harold and Kumar, he's showed up in Freddy Got Fingered, which is great. Yeah, awesome. And Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and then a Carrie sequel. But like
probably the biggest star that came out of this cast was Natasha Lyonne, but she had to like disappear for a
After
while,
a
and then
few
she
years.
reemerged in
Recall.
like as an adult, and
Yeah,
she
TV
also
show.
had the most minor role in the whole cast too. So
Well, Shannon Elizabeth was a successful poker player after this, so that helps.
well,
And
there is that. There's that.
Mina Suvari definitely peaked in '99. Like that was part of the problem. It's like you're in the Best Picture winner and one of the biggest box office movies. It's like where do you go from there?
So if I was
Peaks
actually
too
paying
early.
if I was paying attention to my power rankings last week, she definitely would have been in my actor with like job title, because how is she supposed to play a military operative? She played a person in the military in Day of the Dead. She was going up against Nick Cannon in that movie, and she's supposed to be the like military specialist in that movie.
Why wasn't that in the power rankings last week?
Yeah,
I mean,
I didn't think about obviously
that was
Home
right.
Depot.
That was right along with Denise Richards and World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, definitely didn't. That's a great call.
Okay, so a
What?
couple things to pay off here. First, if they had made a sequel to 10 Things I Hate About You, it would have been called 11 Things I Hate About You.
Correct.
And I think American Pie really missed an opportunity to call its sequel American Pie 2 Pie Harder.
But after 11 Things I Hate About You, it would have inexplicably gone to 8, and it would have been an all-female cast.
That is true. That is true.
With Kate Blanchett.
Hold on, Zach, you had said that you thought Eugene Levy and Jennifer Coolidge were the best parts. I'm going to agree with Todd. I think one of the best parts about this is the female characters.
Yeah.
And how like my favorite characters as we were going, and they'll show up as we go through all our dumb categories. But my favorite characters in this were Allison Hannigan and Natasha Lyonne, because I think that they're just interesting characters, and we don't get enough of them as the movie's going along, but they're the most fascinating characters, I think.
Now, Natasha Lyonne's supposed to be the sophisticated female character because she talks about female masturbation. I mean, come on, get real. And then Allison Hannigan, it's I think a real one-note performance. Mina Suvari, I will say, I'll amend a little bit of what I said about her. She's actually probably the most like realistic, certainly the female characters. Like I could believe that her character existed more so than Tara Reid. Tara Reid is a virgin, give me a break. But Mina Suvari,
I mean, she played Bunny the year before.
Exactly. Mina Suvari, I've seen that character before, and I think it's an interesting contrast from her character in American Beauty. I was going to ask you guys earlier, what's the role that would have saved Mina Suvari's career? You know, like could she have been like, you know, Brittany Murphy in Uptown Girls? You know, like was there a role out there that she didn't get that would have helped her career in the early 2000s?
She should have been Christina Ricci in Monster.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's pretty solid.
But I mean, that was never going to be a box office thing. Like if she was wanting to be a movie star,
either.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
She would have been great in that film.
In Walk the Line.
Ooh, that's interesting.
But clearly, from this movie, I don't know if her singing skills were quite going to get her there. But
gotta practice hard.
Either that, or she's just really good at acting like a bad singer.
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting. I wrote down 5 high school movies that I thought were significantly better than this movie: Clueless, Lucas, Say Anything, Superbad, and then I thought there was a curious parallel with this movie with Falcon Lake, which in a way is also sort of a raunchy teen comedy, but is like just so much better. So again, do you fault the movie for not being as good as these other movies? Like I had to ask myself that as I was not enjoying this movie. If I was seeing this in 1999, would have been a different experience having not seen any of those other movies. But I think that's part of the problem watching the movie. I just can't help but think of other better movies.
I mean,
see, I don't think any of those are the same in the same genre. Even like this is a different brand of comedy than any of those. Even especially Superbad. Superbad is not a sex comedy. That is a high school buddy comedy. Like, and this is a different kind of thing. So you can't really compare it.
And even 10 Things I Hate About You is a hard comparison too. It's 2 high school movies, 2 different genres.
I would say like The Girl Next Door
that's
is the
what I was
closest
saying.
thing, like in modern times, that we can say that would be trying to come up with something like this.
This in some way, isn't this like a high school version of Sideways? Like Jack
think-
is Stifler, obviously.
Yeah, of
Superbad is
course.
more
Just-
sideways.
and what Miles would be Jim? Like you could see
Jim.
Jim growing up to be Miles.
But he can't get out of his own way. He's almost more like Shitbrick. It'd be like Shitbrick and Stifler would be sideways.
It's all just trying to get laid, right? I mean, that's. Did we even attempt to cast Nicolas Cage? I didn't even attempt.
Oh, I
worried
did.
about Nicolas Cage and.
I did.
Oh, okay.
He has enough 80s movies that he could.
That's a valid point.
Recasting
would he-
Nicholas Coppola, not Nicolas Cage.
Yes,
Nicky-
recasting
No,
Nicolas Coppola.
Nicolas Cage is clearly Coach Marshall, the coach of the lacrosse team.
Yeah.
I don't have a line
It's
from
the-
him, but it's like basically like Ostriker, just him screaming Ostriker in camera. That would be awesome.
I
That's
don't
good.
have
I
a
re-
lot of Nicolas Cage as a coach roles.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like De Niro is a cook, Cage is a coach. It works.
I recast Nicolas Cage as the male voice in the porn film in the Scrambles video.
Ooh,
Slap me in the
That's
hairy
good.
ass.
Excuse me?
that's like Tilda Swinton and Uncut Gems territory right there. That's
Yeah,
really-
it's a vocal
That's good.
performance. Yeah.
that's really good.
I had Finch because he's the whole time he's like sipping on like hard liquor.
Mochaccino. Yeah.
Yeah, mochaccino and he gets his flask just like he does in Leaving Las Vegas. Maybe
Yeah.
that was Ben Sanderson.
A young
Hardcore.
Cage's Finch. That's not bad. It's not bad. I can see it.
Yeah. I don't know. I could see Nicolas Coppola being Oz. Like there's a level.
He
of
was
him that
Jack
could be
in a
that.
couple of his 80s movies. The one where he's a rower. Yeah, he usually could have been Oz.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking like what's the Fast Times at Ridgemont High Nicolas Coppola role, it's John Cho, right?
Mm.
Like
He
the
has
guy
more
who just
lines.
is open the background of every scene, but has like 2 lines.
Dude,
That's
I can't
pretty
wait.
good.
I can't wait
John
to see
Cho is the
Terry.
MILF guy.
I can't
Yeah.
wait to see Terry experience the John Cho in the American Pie series. It's great. John Cho is awesome. It just-
All right.
Yeah.
Do we have 90s Giamatti?
oh, I forgot about this one.
He's the teacher, right?
Yeah, the English teacher.
He's
Yeah,
the English teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sitting on the desk. Yeah. It's a good call.
For some reason in the back of my head, I thought that guy had been in Glee, but he hadn't. But looking through his filmography, he has played a surprisingly high number of judges.
Of judges.
He plays a judge in like half the things that he's done. So I thought that was
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
Do we have something for Beth Grant?
Yes. The vocal jazz teacher.
Oh yeah, the show choir teacher.
Mm.
I like that.
I just wrote down Jim's mom.
That's a
Oh,
good
yeah,
one
Grant.
too.
That's a good
One
one.
James Bond's
scene.
not bad. Not bad.
Why
The
can't
Courtney
Beth
Grant.
Grant be Stifler's mom? Why could she never reach that? I'll change my recasting of Lena Dunham to Beth Grant. That's
She didn't start acting
Grant
until she
needed
was
to
60.
play that
Okay.
role at some point in her career.
Her career
All right.
started when she was much older. Okay, that's what it seemed like. Who knows?
Do we actually need to do the Gretchen Mol Should Have Become Something award because it's kind of the entire cast?
Well, the one that qualifies most is the college girl that Oz dates at the beginning. Like,
Mm,
Yeah, that's true.
That should have become somebody. I'm not sure who it would have become, but
But
that seems like the one like missed. Like I've never seen that person before.
she's a college chick, man. Yeah, she should have been.
she's
something.
a college chick.
Do you know that
Yeah.
American?
Beautiful.
Do you know that Wikipedia has an entire page for a list of the American Pie characters? I mean, that's how serious the movie is. Like, it has its own page devoted to character descriptions of each of the characters. That's got to be.
That's-
I think that's probably the whole
It's a long-
like
long
anthology of
article,
movies.
too.
So
I mean,
it's
it
a long,
really
interesting
goes deep.
article. Goes deep.
All right. What does Adam think this movie's about?
Don't everybody speak at once. Let's go.
I said that he thinks it's a dramatic interpretation of the song American Pie. Which is what my headline drove my Chevy to the levee.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just spelled Eugene's name wrong. I
No,
was like, is there a
it's
Chevy in the
Song,
movie?
dude. It took me a little bit too as
no,
well.
Well, I know
I'm
the song.
referencing the song.
I thought you were doing a play on it. And I was like, Eugene Levy.
I could have done that. Drove my Chevy to drove my Chevy
Drove
to
my
Eugene
Chevy
Levy.
to the
That would have been better. That would have been better.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had down.
Like, yeah.
Anybody else have something?
I did. I had American Pie as a movie starring Russell Crowe and Mina Suvari as a pair of mathematicians who are American, and they interpret pi differently. They want to recreate pi as a different integer, so they go to international court, and they're represented in court by Hilary Swank to make sure that pi becomes something other than 314.
So,
well,
so
that's pretty
take the
good.
you're taking the e off of the spelling of the title.
Yeah, that's what Adam thought it was about. Uh-huh.
That's pretty good. I think that Adam thought this movie was. I think that Adam thought this movie was a parody film by the Wayans brothers, starring the Sherminator. It's called American Pie, where he is there to save those high school teenagers for one night with the Sherminator. Yeah, it has to be the Sherminator. Yeah, it's got to go on.
Did you people call you the Sherminator, or you just identify with the Sherminator? I can't remember your origin story. Take us back an hour ago. What were you talking about?
He said I looked like the Sherminator, which means I looked like Jesse Plemons, which means I looked like what's the guy named Chris Owen, Chris something. Chris Owen, yes, Chris Owen.
Oz.
Chris Owen. Which, funny enough, Chris Owen, who plays the Sherminator, also appeared in the Can't Hardly Wait movie, where he just steals shit. Yeah.
Do you think that this is the? Do you think that this Sherman is the greatest stickman Sherman of all time? Have there ever been other Shermans that could really had much of a stickman game?
Richard Sherman.
Oh, that's true.
I'm not supposed to say this on a podcast, but I'm kind of buzzed. He's my favorite Seahawk. But anyway.
Oh.
That's true. I believe his wife was giving birth during Super Bowl 49. So, yeah, that's a good one. Isn't there a cartoon character
season 1 of Boy Meets World?
Yeah, Peabody and Sherman, by the way. That's the cartoon character.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
That's a deep cut.
Todd, did you have something for what Adam thinks the movie's about?
Well, I just think the teenagers get busted for the sex act thing, and they're in court represented by Hillary.
Oh, that's a good one.
The Hillary.
But the reason why it's a big thing is because it jeopardizes the career of the star lacrosse player. Ooh. Although he wasn't really involved. But
man, we should have recast this movie as the Duke lacrosse team. That was my real missed opportunity. Screw the Supreme Court.
That is true. Yeah.
All right. Alternate title. My alternate title is "Hey, Big Boy."
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, the title that would be like the title that would be the crime movie on WE is the Prom Pact.
Prom Pact. It's pretty good.
I had "It's Been 1 Week Since You Looked at Me," like the song. That's played prominently.
It's been
a long title.
Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah, which
shout
also
out to the Bare Naked Ladies.
That's a good title.
Also,
that is a good title too.
The Bare Naked Ladies. That's it. That's the winner.
About you, yeah. I forgot about this category, honestly, but I would probably say shaved is what the term is, right?
Oh, I forgot about this.
All right.
I'm intrigued by the movie. The movie Todd's talking about called Scrambled. Is it like the scrambled porn in this movie? Does the title refer to that?
No, it's referencing eggs, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Tube sock would be funny as a title. Tube sock.
Yeah.
Safer than a tube sock.
Safer than a tube sock. Yeah, it's a good one.
All right. Highest war performance Highest for performance goes to who, Zach?
It's obviously Eugene Levy. I mean, this is the foundational performance of his entire career, whether it be Schitt's Creek or the Christopher Guest movies or that movie he made with Steve Martin and Queen Latifah. I mean, that's all he ever plays. The antagonist in Cheaper by the Dozen 2, another movie we should deep dive. I love Eugene Levy in this movie. He's hilarious. I agree. The picture of him and his family is creepy and perverted and wonderful. He's the best part. The filmmakers even know it. He's the last character we see in the movie. I mean, he wins. It's obvious. That's a really good impression that Adam's got going. He's kind of got the Eugene Levy glasses going too. I really like it.
Is this one of those things where like Eugene Levy gave the movie credibility? Like the fact that we got a Christopher Guest guy to be it, or two of them, two Christopher Guest actors to be the only adults in the movie.
What it's crazy though that Levy is like I said, he's been in the straight to DVD movies of American Pie too, where none of the other characters have been in. So it maybe that he's the credibility. So
Well, I know that most of his lines were improvised, so I mean, he did his thing.
Yeah,
he made it as awkward as he is.
Yeah, him leading a movie though, it doesn't work because that movie that he led with Samuel L. Jackson called The Man, not that good.
Man. Not the extra man, just the man.
Not the man. Just the man.
Well, if all his lines were improvised, then shout out to Jason Biggs for being able to go toe to toe with Eugene Levy in an improv class and coming out on top.
Well, Jason Biggs is great in this. I could see a scenario where he would have become a star. Like he was in the Woody Allen movie soon after this, but then it really took a long time for him to like shed the gym. I mean, he ended up in Orange Is the New Black, I guess, eventually, but it took a while.
He played
along with Natasha Lyonne.
He played in that Saving Silverman movie with Jack Black as well.
Oh yeah, Saving Silverman. I forgot about that one.
Yes, he was in the same character essentially.
the short-lived Fox sitcom Outmatched. Don't forget that. Classic.
Already did.
I don't know what that is.
What movie? What was it?
All right, Adam, you're next.
You said Levy, Natasha Lyonne as Jessica. Yeah, she's the highest score for me. She's awesome in this movie. Zach doesn't think so, but at the same time, she's really interesting. She's probably like when she pops up in the other movies, the other two movies. I would just spoil that real quick, but when she does pop up, it's really awesome to see her pop back up. So she's a fascinating actor. Makes me really want to watch her. What's that? The Netflix TV show that she was in?
Russian Dolls.
Russian Dolls,
and also a movie called Bliss, which I want to see a lot. So
she's in a Peacock show called Poker Face too.
Oh yes, Lady Gaga song.
Great show.
Yes, I need to watch those, but it made me
realize.
I'm
a cheerleader. She's great in it.
So I've seen this twice this year, and she's like just one of my favorite characters in this movie. So Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah, she's like somewhere in between, like where she is now, which is like she is such a one of a kind in her persona now, but she's somewhere in between that and still being the little kid she was in Pee-wee's Playhouse. So I mean, somewhere in between there is where you get Natasha Lyonne in American Pie, which is just a fascinating thing to see. Todd, highest score.
It's Chris Klein. I think he's great in this, and like I said, they didn't know how to use him after this. He should have been the next like Channing Tatum or something, or like I guess he would have been the original Channing Tatum in this case. But they never really figured out how to use him, because here he's the big jock type, but he also has that really sensitive side, and I could see a scenario where he'd be like the romantic lead in something. It just I don't know in many other actors at that time that did that kind of thing. I can't think of who would replace him, honestly. So I think he's great in this.
Yeah, I think we mentioned before that he's like a Keanu Reeves type. Like if Keanu Reeves were in high school movies, this would kind of be what he would be like. But
Okay.
yeah, for whatever reason, he never developed into anything else. All right, my highest war. I'm going Allison Hannigan. I love her in this. She is like, and it's all about the turn she takes at the very end, right? It's all about those last like 10 seconds we see her on screen, because anyone can do the first like 80% of this movie that Allison Hannigan does. But then when she turns and like has that moment with Jim, like you need someone that can go off the rails in a very unique way. And for whatever reason, Allison Hannigan can do it. And Adam, you're absolutely right. She's basically playing this character in How I Met Your Mother. And it's one of the best parts about How I Met Your Mother is she
Truth.
she nails it, right? She is this character. And it makes her character just like perfect, and her the perfect part of just complementing that entire ensemble. So
What's my
Yeah.
name, bitch?
Yeah,
Say my name. She has the catchphrase of 2 Breaking Bad characters in one line. Just
I know,
say my
I know.
name.
which
Bitch!
means Vince Gilligan was a fan of American Pie.
Of course he was.
So yes.
You're a sure thing.
Yeah, Allison
I am,
Hannigan. That is my highest worth. The Bill Paxton Memorial worst performance of the film goes to who, Adam?
Jim with Nadia. You can't. You're not he didn't even get it in. He just blew his load way too early. Oh wait, we're not talking about that kind of performance. Sorry, acting performances. It's Vicky's dad. Vicky's dad as Ashton Dale, walking upstairs and just very nonchalant. Sorry, dude. You have a high school girl. Your door's closed with a guy behind there. Keep that door open, man. Bad performance. So I'm really disappointed that Jim with Nadia joke did not go over as well as I thought it was. So.
You need a little more workshopping.
It did.
Worst
Should've
performance.
gone all in on
that. That might be the first worst double performance we had, because he had 2 shots at it and spoiled both of them.
What a loser.
What? Todd,
Yeah, you can't use my lines against me.
I said Thomas Ian Nicholas as Kevin.
Kevin.
He's not bad necessarily. It's just I
He's
feel
still
like
Henry Rowan Gardner.
Yeah, and he does not. There's not a single point in the movie where doesn't have that smile on. Like nobody smiles that much. He's a little weird with it, and he's supposed to be like the fun-loving one and the one that you're supposed to identify with, kind of, but you don't. Because I think he's just kind of like a kook, and it's a kind of weird casting.
Do you know what I figured?
Oh, go ahead, Zach.
I was going to say, do you know what I figured out during this movie? I believe that Kevin in this movie is the oldest Kevin who's ever been in a movie before, because the only other Kevins I can think of are Kevin McAllister, Kevin from the Wonder Years, and Kevin from Dazed and Confused, all of whom are younger than this Kevin. Has there ever been a Kevin over the age of 18?
How old is the Kevin from the worst Talaboogie movie? We just talked about this like a couple hours ago.
Oh,
unless Kevin Corrigan has played himself.
Oh, we need to talk about Kevin, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, but no, that Kevin was also a teenager. He was much younger. Ezra Miller, star of Ezra on Netflix.
Oh,
I went with
that's bad. Yeah, never mind.
I went with for worst performance Blink 182. All right, next. Terry, worst performance.
All right, worst performance. I'm going Sean William Scott as Stifler. I mean, he's kind of perfect for it, but at the same time, he's kind of horrible in this too. Like he's the one that as you're watching it, you're like, you're just reading your lines.
It only gets better.
Yeah. So, Sean William Scott, Stifler. That's my pick for worst performance.
I think you named Dawn from Dazed and Confused your worst performance too. Like it's like
it's possible.
They're very similar characters.
But Henry Rowan Gardner, I think that is a valid point too, because and I agree with Zach. I think it was Zach that said that missed opportunity of shouting out that Kevin was a baseball star at East Great Falls or whatever the hell it was called. That
Rookie of
was
the
a
Year.
missed opportunity. And the two guys from Rookie of the Year that were his best buds should have been in this somewhere. I don't care where. Just put the two guys he built the boat with in there somewhere.
They should be the MILF guys.
They should be the MILF guys. Like that would have made sense.
This is
be.
why we do deep dives like this, is for nuggets like that. That's a great insight.
It is time for minor character triumvirate, and for that we're going to Todd first.
Okay. Who was that character? Interesting. Okay. My Masonry High Roller is Nadia, because she's a Czechoslovakian ballet dancer who is also a great poker player. I think she's great in this. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to imagine who the next like Shannon Elizabeth is. Like, she was so singular at the time. I think her character's really fun, and obviously lampooned in I mean, along with everything else about this movie in Not Another Teen Movie.
Yes, very much so.
Matt Damon, what movie are you in? Is Jennifer Coolidge. She has a different energy than every other person in the movie.
True.
And minor character that causes the movie to happen is the central girl, which is Sherman's girl, because it really pushes them all forward to being like, we will no longer be slaves to our flaccid penises, or whatever he says. So his whole like Animal House spiel thing is because Sherman allegedly slept with that girl. So
guys,
on the
have
premises.
some tact. I have
premises.
company.
Yeah.
Tact.
That's a good call. All right, I'm next here. My Amazing Larry is I've got two here. If you're gonna go kind of major cast like you did with Nadia, Jessica, I love that character. Natasha Lyonne's character, that's great. But if you're going with someone outside like the primary group, Stifler's younger brother is pretty awesome.
he sounds like Sid
Especially-
from Toy Story.
Yeah, that's a good call. Especially when he pops out of the closet when Kevin and Vicky are trying to have their moment. That was great. My Charlie Duke ticket taker movie maker is the college girl that is Oz's girlfriend, because she's the one that tells him to be more sensitive, to think about the girls.
Suck me, beautiful.
That was the worst.
That was the part where Stifler is most relatable. He's like, "You said that."
However, I mean, you could almost say that he should be the worst performance for his line reading of "Suck me, beautiful," and my nickname is Nova.
That's classic Chris Klein, though.
I mean, but like Chris Klein fits much more into once he gets into show choir. Like him trying to be the ladies' man like that doesn't work. Like that's why I would agree with Zach in that he works so much more in Election than he does in this movie, because he works so much more as the lovable idiot than the ladies' man trying to be sensitive. Like he plays both the exact same way, but it works better in Election. Anyways, my Matt Damon, what movie are you in? I'm going with Jim's mom.
Yeah.
He's watching an illegal channel.
I think that's a legal channel.
Illegal cable.
All right, Zach, what do you got for minor character triumvirate?
All right, for Stickman, I've got Jim's dad because why not?
Stickman.
Oh, okay. What we are doing?
Amazing Larry, movie maker,
character,
and Matt Damon.
Okay, I really wanted to talk about my Stickman, but anyway,
we'll get there.
Minor character is John Cho, because we've already talked about him more. We spent more minutes talking about him than the movie spent on him, so that's got to mean something. My Matt Damon Award winner is Casey Affleck. That's the literal definition of a Matt Damon role. What is Casey Affleck doing in this movie?
Oscar winner.
Dan Aykroyd was in this picture.
And my movie maker award is Al Gore for inventing the internet, or you could go with Netscape or America Online, whatever you want for the internet circa 1999. Internet capabilities and their 12 megabyte per second bitrate speed.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. All right, Adam.
The Amazing Larry minor character. I did have John Cho here, the MILF Bros, as who I had down. But if we were actually being, I think the minor character that's pretty funny is the nerd, computer nerd. Not again, man. With the guy with the braces when he's like watching them naughty, and he just not again, man.
Oh, that's
You see him later. You see him later pop up going after like Jim is goes back to school. It's pretty funny. What is the other one? The person. Oh, the minor character who causes the movie to happen. Yeah, that's Chuck Sherman. If Sherman has sex before I do, man, I'm going to be very disappointed.
I'm going to be pissed.
I'm going to be pissed. But it's great line delivery by Kevin. Yeah. And then also Matt Damon. What movie are you actually in? That's David Kuhn, the prom band singer. Yeah, that guy. What was he singing? It's like,
you're stepping on my
Club song.
What?
He sang the Breakfast Club song.
Yeah, that is true. But he reminds me of the guy from South Park. Okay, that's how he sounds. Yeah, so that's true. What movie are you in? Yeah, we're gonna take a little break. Stay fabulous.
Good call. All right, the tripod of depravity now. Stickman, douchebag, most punchable face. Stickman, I'm gonna reinterpret this a little bit.
You're pulling
the biggest fake Stickman in like movie history is the Sherminator. Like no one has played up a fake Stickman prowess quite like the Sherminator does in this. I mean, he goes to DEFCON 2. Like weapons loaded of whatever else he says. He's exhausted. And never did anything. So the biggest fake Stickman ever is the Sherminator. The biggest douchebag, I mean, I think I just like this morning listened to our power rankings of biggest douchebags in movie history, and Stifler came up. So I think Stifler has to be mentioned here for biggest douchebag.
I don't think I had him on my list, but he should have been. Like he was probably an honorable mention.
I think you didn't have him on your list, but you thought that Adam was going to have him on his list.
Yeah,
that's what it was. That's what it was. And my most punchable face goes to the assistant lacrosse coach, who just repeats like every 10th
just
word.
Repeats everything.
Yeah. Just
Tommy Timmons.
Yeah, shut up, Tommy.
Shut up, Tommy.
That's beautiful. Yeah, he's Tommy Timmons. He's grown up Tommy Timmons. Yeah, that's the most punchable face. All right, we're going to Zach next. Go ahead and tell us all about your tripod of depravity. And since Zach always forgets, this is Stickman, douchebag, and most punchable face. And your mic is still muted.
I'm glad you said that. I was about to talk about Casey Affleck again. My punchable face is the prom band for all the reasons that Adam mentioned it, but they are kind of perfect for this movie. I'm not sure what they're doing. It's like the sound editor turned them up just a little bit too loud on the soundtrack and made them like a part of the movie.
I wonder if they're a real band, real quick, because in 10 Things I Hate About You, they had Saving Paris, which was a real band, which is been interesting. Anyway, go ahead.
That's a good point. Let's see.
Thanks.
Stickman is obviously I don't know. They're not really.
You just had a great one. They're like 5 minutes ago.
You said Jim's father.
Jim's dad.
Oh, okay. Jim's dad. Yeah, great Stickman. Yeah, definitely had a kid. Had a painting in his house. Lots of good advice there. And then the douchebag of the movie, I don't know, the country of Czechoslovakia. I mean, didn't they revoke her immigration status because she made a sex video? That seems very un-Eastern European like, but whatever, man.
It's pretty good. I like it.
Adam, go.
Stickman is the apple pie because it literally gets it in. The apple
good call.
pie is the stick man here. The punchable face is Albert, played by Eric Levy. He's the other guy who cannot sing in the choir.
Oh, good call. Yes.
Yeah, Albert. He's like, yeah, even the other band.
Albert,
like,
you suck.
Yeah, you suck, Albert. Yeah, you suck. Douchebag. Stifler is the low-hanging fruit there. I think obviously that's the one. However, do I have any alternatives here? Yeah. No, maybe the assistant coach, is the douchebag. Yeah.
They didn't seem like a very talented lacrosse team. It seemed like they needed a little bit of help.
They had two people, Stifler and Oz. That's the whole team.
They were like Luca and Kyrie of the high school lacrosse team.
It's a good comparison.
The rest of them didn't even have a name tag. They had no shot. All right, Todd. What do you got for the tripod?
Stickman is Tom Myers, which is Casey Affleck's character, because he was the one who had the Bible to give, so he obviously was getting it in, and he knows how to pleasure a girl. He makes it seem like. Douchebag. It's Stifler. I mean, Stifler's in the Hall of Fame of douchebags, and most punchable face. I have Stifler's younger brother.
Yeah, Matt. There we go.
Because I don't know, he has his hat on backwards, and he's just like an idiot. And when he's dancing around like Jim, he even gets like the closest thing to a punch in the movie. He gets like Stifler just like completely like clotheslines him, like get the hell down, you idiot. So
what happened? What happened? He blew it.
So I'm gonna say I'm gonna change my Amazing Larry. I'm gonna change to Cole Hauser, who was the voice just off screen asking Casey Affleck what was good there, just a couple years after Good Will Hunting. They were hanging out. It was either him or Scott Conn. I mean, either 3 years after or 2 years before, or 2 years after, 2 years before, whatever one it was. That's what was happening there. Okay. Next we've got the best scene. Zach, what's the best scene?
You've already mentioned it, but it is the scene when, any scene with Jim and his father, but especially the scene when they try to explain why the pie looks so disheveled. And in particular, I really like the line, "We'll just tell your mother we ate it all." Which I think is almost, that's also the underrated line of the movie, too. That was funny.
That was my Regal quote of the movie. Like, someone spills their bucket of popcorn, "We'll just tell your mother we ate it all."
Yeah.
That's good. All right, Adam, best scene.
I think it is Finch and Stifler's mom here. I think that's it's kind of the low hanging fruit, but we need to at least mention it. I think Finch has some of the most interesting scenes in the entire franchise, really. But the first scene where channeling the graduate in this scene here. You're trying to seduce me, aren't you? Yes, ma'am, I am. Yeah, it's a great scene. And if it wasn't going to be that one, possibly Finch taking a shit in the public toilet. It's pretty good.
It's good stuff.
And beer is what the heathens drink, is what he says.
Yeah, the Cretans drink.
The Cretans, yeah.
Todd?
It's Oz and Heather when they're outside the party, just like walking and talking. Like that's my favorite scene. That's really my favorite sequence of the whole movie, is when they kind of show what everyone's going through at the time. But Oz being completely vulnerable and having his thing about like, coach is always talking about like not losing track when you're trying to score and all that, and the miscommunication, the Arrested Development communication breakdown kind of thing, and then it ends up being super sweet. Like that's why the movie's great, is because of the moments like that. And those two characters and those two performances that make it work.
It's good. It's a good one.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments is right around there too, and it's Allison Hannigan just like flipping the script on Jim.
Say my name.
This one time at this one time at
Yeah.
band camp, I shoved my flute, and like when she says that, and he goes, "Wait, what?" It's like, yeah, it's basically a sex education camp. That's what half of it is. He's like, "Wait, what did I just date?"
Yeah.
Like, that just kind of like that moment just completely flipped the script on everything.
You had
So,
never
I
seen
love
that
that.
before, Terry, in all the
no,
years.
I'd seen that clip of her
Okay.
saying that. I did not understand the context of when that actually came up, and so when it does, like that is just like perfect.
I think the second funniest part about that is like Jim's like, I was used. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah. Hell yeah.
I think there's a certain amount of just like charm to the pure logistics behind the live stream scene with Nadia. Like, yes, you remove the fact that it actually happened, the innocence of it being the 90s and it could happen, and then just like Jim running a block away to go watch it, and then having to run a block back and then dance, or like everything that goes into that, I love. And then
That's very Ferris Bueller.
it is very Ferris Bueller.
Good
The
point.
other one, the other
Ooh,
moment
yeah.
I thought was hilarious was when Jessica is explaining to Kevin what he needs to do. And it's like, you need to give her what she's never had. It's like, what's that? I'll give you a hint. Yeah. Hey, Kevin.
I
It's
have.
like,
No,
in
you
a way
haven't.
that only Natasha Lyonne could do. It's like, oh my word, that was so funny. Like that is when I was like, Natasha Lyonne, like potential MVP of the movie, just because of how she could pull off that Brooklyn accent and be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, like that. She could pull that off in a way no one else could. So yeah, that's another.
And they kept putting her back in more scenes, and they never paired her off with anybody because they're just like, she needs to be available for anybody to talk to because she's that awesome.
Exactly. I mean, she almost ends up with Finch at one point, but then like the second you're like, oh, maybe this is gonna happen. She's like, yeah, I'm not gonna end up with you.
You have no chance. Oh, of course, absolutely.
But here's your
My options
flask. I
open.
bought you a flask.
You spent $100. You spent $200 on this flash? No, $50. $150 on the earring.
Exactly. All right. Regal quote of the movie or underrated line of the movie. What do you guys have? Like I said, my Regal quote was, "We'll just tell your mother that we ate it all." I
Or
thought
just
that would fit in
warm
really well.
apple pie.
Warm apple pie. This one time at band camp, I think it's the obvious one. This one time.
I said he took out the chair.
Aged 18 years, the way I like it.
My favorite
that was the
underrated
other line.
lines are just like past, like there are things Finch says, like I don't like the kid, but he's got a point, or like,
that's a good one, yeah.
they're like, why do you think we were friends with Stifler for the last 4 years? We were friends with Stifler. It's like, I mean, he's a funny actor. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that guy.
Yeah. I like underrated line too is like women are like a fine wine, they just get better with age. I think that's kind of a repeat.
Of course, I have
line.
no basis for comparison.
Yeah, no basis of comparison. Yeah. We'll just tell your mother we ate it all. She reads the articles. That's a good one. Say my name, bitch. How's the pale ale? It's all good.
Good stuff. All right.
Yes.
I think we can skip if there were a sequel because there have been. Any
And they kind of
flaws?
did what they needed to happen. If once you watch them, you'll be like, yeah, I could see the progression being exactly the way it was.
Yeah.
Any flaws? Anything outdated? Any conspiracy theories that have yet to be mentioned? We've mentioned several already.
So you guys are teachers. That jazz, every time they show the jazz class, like when Chris Klein's singing, every time they're done with the song, class is over. Oh, very good. Let's work on that next week. It ends. It's so awkward. I'm like, wait, what? At least in the English class, we heard a bell go off when class was over. Your teacher, it's arguably one of the worst performances in the movie, but because she's like, okay, we'll work on that next week. I was like, what?
Honestly, as a teacher, the thing that I thought of most is, why didn't she turn around to the three guys that walked into the back of the room and go, out? Get out!
And then how does Stifler not have his own computer? That's another thing.
It was his little brother's computer. That's a good
Hey,
point.
it's my computer. It's my computer. He's in his brother's room. How does he not have his own?
That's a good call. That's a good call.
Obviously there was a mess up too when they're showing when he's putt, he's like doing miniature golf. He's like, I'm sure they're not, Jim. You don't see the girls behind him. Then all of a sudden the next scene you see the two girls asking if you've seen him in the locker room, right? Well, is he equipped? Yeah. Well, he's in his
standing right there.
Yeah, they weren't standing there, and then all of a sudden they appeared there. So that's kind of a mess up there. But anyway,
I think along those lines, or no. All right. So backing up a little bit from what you said, the Stiflers. Here's my conspiracy theory. Again, back to Breaking Bad, because you have some say my name, bitch. But I think the dynamic of the Pinkman kids could easily be the dynamic of the Stifler kids.
Oh, I like it.
Like Stifler could easily turn into Jesse, and the little brother could easily turn into the little Pinkman brother, and everything that's going on there.
I like it.
Nice.
Nah, it's skunk weed anyway. Yeah, that's what I'll go with. However, Pinkman's mom is definitely not Stifler's mom.
No.
And my conspiracy theory is that in late 90s, early 2000s, why was there a song called Stacy's Mom Has Got It Going On when it should have been Stifler's mom?
Wasn't she in the video?
Mom
that was part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get the rights to the name, maybe.
It should have been. It should have been.
That's how I always sang it.
That's how you always sang it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it should have been. And it should have been Jennifer Coolidge in the video, but it wasn't. However,
it wasn't? I thought it was.
No, it wasn't. No.
It wasn't.
Honestly, the one that was in it was probably much hotter, but
so why didn't we pick that person as the recasting Stifler's mom?
But because that was 20 years ago.
She would at least look like Terry by now. Come on.
When it was doing the Fast Times Version on High thing, right, in the video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sprinklers going off, yeah.
The sprinklers going on, and then
Fountains
there was
of Wayne. Wasn't that the band?
Yeah.
Fountains of
Wayne. Hell yeah, there we go.
Yep. They were also doing like what was it? Like I think it was like a White Snake music video thing where she's dancing on the hood of a Camaro or something like that. Yeah.
White Snake. There we go. There's a pull.
I think it was like the video for Pour Some Sugar on Me or Cherry Pie or something like that.
White Snake. What is 1998 MTV Movie Award band?
There we go.
White Snake. Yeah. There we go.
White Snake.
All right. Other flaws, conspiracy theory, anything?
Yeah, I don't like scenes. I don't think scenes where people are like shitting or vomiting are funny. Like I've never thought that's funny. I know that's in like a staple of like R-rated comedy. I just never think it's funny. So I don't know. Which is part of why I don't like Bridesmaids and stuff like that. It's just not funny. And I just think the movie moves by way too fast. Like this movie should have been longer than 90 minutes. It blows through all of these like iconic moments, and they could have been like it could have been an Apatow movie. There's enough content there and enough great characters that it could have that it could be like a 2 hour and 5 minute movie, but it's not. But which is why they have sequels, I guess.
That's why they're sequels. Like I said, this is like one of the first movies where I was like, I need more. I need the sequel. So.
You should have just turned it on.
I should have.
You don't have it. You don't have
I have it. Yeah. All right, Zach. Did you have anything?
I mean, I've criticized this movie probably too much for anyone's liking, But no, I don't have anything more to add.
Thank you.
But although
All right.
I will say that I like About a Boy and In Good Company significantly more in this movie. The directors did make better movies eventually.
LVP, MVP, quote of the day. Wrapping up our podcast here. Let's go to Adam first. Who's the LVP?
LVP was LVP is that awful prom band. It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
every
they're
time
bad.
I see him, I laugh in comparison. One of the worst prom bands I've in movies I would think. Okay. Anyway, MVP gotta go with Eugene Levy. Obviously, he made a career out of these American Pie movies, and he's been in a lot of them as well. Along with Shooter McGavin was in a couple of them as well. Anyway, Eugene Levy, MVP.
Nice.
Do you want me to
Zach.
get quote of the day right now?
No.
Okay.
Zach, what do you got? LVP, MVP.
LVP is lacrosse teams in general. MVP is postmodern feminist thought. I liked that character was majoring in that. That's a fascinating major. That I don't know if it's really a major, but I like it. And then my quote of the day is wait, we're not saying that, right?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll come back to it.
Wait for it. Okay, my LVP. I'm gonna go with high school parties. Like, why was there this like need for Kevin and Vicky to do the deed at a high school party? Like this is like they're like, oh, we need it to be perfect, so we're gonna go and do it at a place where Stifler's little brother could pop out of a closet like that. Or Stifler could walk in on us and kick us out. Like, that is where the perfect mood is going to be set. What?
Or
That doesn't make
or not locking the door, too.
Yeah,
Like he just walked right in after a blowjob. Come on.
Yeah. So there's that. My MVP, I have. I mentioned Jessica already. That was one of my MVPs. The other one, the soundtrack, man. I mean, this is like the late '90s. Encapsulated in one soundtrack is the American Pie soundtrack. So, like, that is like Blink 182, Bare Naked Ladies. I mean, you could put it all together.
Sugar
It's
Ray.
like it is Sugar Ray. This is
Big
the
Runga.
soundtrack of the
Sugar
late
Ray
90s is American
Sugar
Pie.
Ray's the MVP.
Sugar Ray.
Just a full of Sugar Ray.
There's not even a Sugar Ray song in this. I don't know.
Big
All right.
Runga did that Sway song at the end where everybody's like hooking up. That's good.
I need to download the American Pie soundtrack. All right, Todd, what do you got? LVP, MVP.
My LVP is like all the spin-offs that use the name and kind of like tarnish the legacy of this movie, because I think people don't watch this movie because like a lot of those movies are kind of garbage and
National Lampoon.
yeah, similar thing. And my MVP, the screenwriter's name is Adam Herds, and this is really like American Pie and American Pie 2 are the only movies I think that he ever wrote, which is astonishing considering how big of a hit this was. So he's my MVP, along with the song Sway by Big Runga, which is the song that plays over when the post-party stuff where they're showing like where everything's going with all the characters. And I think that song just is the song that is a lasting thing in my head when I think about the movie, because those scenes are where the movie really shines.
So going back to your first thing there, looking at the IMDb trivia page, one of my favorite things I saw was when submitting the script to studios, screenwriter Adam Hers titled it "Untitled Teenage Sex Comedy That Can Be Made for Under $10 Million, which studio readers will likely hate, but I think you will love." Like, that was the original title of the movie.
That's pretty funny.
And it was perfect. That's perfect.
It's pretty funny.
All right, quote of the day, Zach.
My quote comes from Roger Ebert's review of Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. And this is how it ties everything all together. He says, Jennifer Coolidge, with great screen presence as always, changes gears and plays a M.I. Wouldn't LF.
And my wouldn't die.
Brilliant.
Wow.
That's brilliant.
Wow. That's good.
Oh, you gotta love Ebert. All right, Adam, what do you got?
My quote is from Jennifer Coolidge as well, talking about American Pie and why she what benefited her from the role. There was so many benefits to doing this movie. There would be like 200 people that I would never have slept with. So there's that.
Wow.
Jennifer Coolidge.
Stickman of the year.
Jennifer Coolidge. There you go. All right, my quote is I'm kind of paraphrasing Jessica, played by Natasha Lyonne here. And I think this every time we start the podcast, because it's never actually in the podcast, but we start with a little countdown and a clap. And at one point, here's my paraphrase. It's not a space shuttle launch. It's a podcast.
Nice.
Sex. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's just sex. It's not. It's
Just
just a podcast. It's not a space shuttle launch. Yeah. So, Todd, wrap us up.
Well, most of the quotes have been said. The one that hasn't been said is it's a quote when Jim had just run back from to his own room where Nadia is, and he gets to the door, and then he gets really, really nervous. And I've said this to myself before. He's just like, "Oh boy, oh god, oh crap, oh no." and his line delivery perfect, and that is just like exactly what you'd be like, "Oh man, what am I walking into?"
All right, and with that, we're going to bring this podcast to a close. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back at you next week with another episode, and you don't know what you'll be getting yourself into.